Yashoda Biyolu Kaladavamanam Paramrishta Matyanta Drita Gopya Rudanta Muhurnetram Yugmamrjanta Karamboja Yugmena Shatankanetram Muhushvasakampa Trirekhankakanta Sita Garvam Damodaram Bhaktivedam Iti Drikshvali Labirananda Kunde Swagosham Nimajantam Akhyapayantam Tadiye Shitagne Shurбhakterjitatvam Puna Pramatastam Shatavrti Vande Varam Deva Moksham Na Moksham Vratim Va Nachanyam Vrineham Vare Shadapiya Idam Deva Purnata Gopala Balam Sada Me Manasya Virastam Kimanne Idam te mukham bojamatyanta nile Vratam kundalai snigdha raktesha gopya Muhushumbitam bimba raktadharame Manasya virasa malam lakshalabe Namo Devada Mudarananta Vishnu Prasida Prabhu Dukha Jalavdi Magnam Vishyati dinam bhatanu Grihane shamamakyam yadi yakshi drishya Kuberatmajo bada murte bayadva Vaya muchito bhakti bhaja krito cha नमोक्षग्रहो मे स्थितामुदरया नमस्ते सुदाम्ने स्फुरादीप्तिदाम्ने त्वदीय उदाराय त्वविश्वस्य दाम्ने नमो राधिकायै त्वदीयप्रियाय नमो नन्तलीलाय देवाय तुभ्यम् नमो राधिकायै त्वदीयप्रियाय नमो नन्तलीलाय देवाय तुभ्यम् नमामीश्वरं सच्चिदानन्दरूपं लसत्कुण्डलं गोकुले व्रजमानम् यशोदाभियोलुकालादवमाना परामृष्टमत्यन्ततो धृतगोप्या धृतगोप्या Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Namaste Narashingaya. Praladadadaine. Hiranyakashipurvakshaha. Shrilatankanakalaye. Pito na shingo, parato na shingo. Yato yato yamintato na shingo. Bahir na shingo, hridaya na shingo. Narashinga madim sharanam prapade. Tava kara kamala varenakam adbhuta shinga. Lalita hiranyakashipu tanubringa. Keshavadrita narahari rupa jai jagadisha hare. Jayo jagadisha hare. Jai jagadisha hare. Tavakara kamala varenaka adbhuta shinga. Dalita hiranyakashipu tanubringa. Keshavadrita narahari rupa jai jagadisha hare. Jayo jagadisha hare. Jai jagadisha hare. Keshavadrita narahari rupa jai jagadisha hare. Jayo jagadisha hare. Jai jagadisha hare. जय जय
श्री राधा दामोदर की
जय To the Supreme Lord, whose form is the embodiment of eternal existence, knowledge and bliss, whose shark-shaped earrings are swinging to and fro, who is beautifully shining in the divine realm of Gokul, who, due to the offense of breaking the pot of yogurt that his mum was churning into butter, and then stealing the butter that was kept hanging from a swing, is quickly running from the wooden grinding mortar in fear of Mother Yashoda, but who has been caught from behind by her, who ran after him with greater speed. To that Supreme Lord Sri Damodar, I offer my humble obeisances. Seeing the whipping stick in his mother's hand, he is crying and rubbing his eyes again and again with his two lotus hands. His eyes are filled with fear, and the necklace of pearls around his neck, which is marked with 3 lions, has a conch shell, is shaking because of his quick breathing due to crying. To this Supreme Lord Sri Damodar, whose belly is bound not with ropes but by his mother's pure love, I offer my humble obeisances. By such childhood pastimes as this, he is drowning the inhabitants of Gokul in pools of ecstasy, and is revealing to those devotees who are absorbed in knowledge of his supreme majesty and opulence that he is only conquered by devotees whose pure love is imbued with intimacy and is free from all conceptions of awe and reverence. With great love, I again offer my obeisances to Lord Damodar hundreds and hundreds of times. O Lord, although you are able to give all kinds of benedictions, I do not pray to you for the boon of impersonal liberation, nor the highest liberation of eternal life in Vaikuntha, nor any other boon, which may be obtained by executing the 9 processes of bhakti. O Lord, I simply wish that this form of yours as Bala Gopal in Vrindavan may ever be manifest in my heart, and for what is the use to me any other boon besides this? O Lord, your lotus face, which is encircled by locks of soft black hair tinged with red, is kissed again and again by your mother Yashoda, and your lips are reddish like the bimba fruit. May this beautiful version of your lotus face be ever manifest in my heart. Thousands and thousands of other benedictions are of no use to me. O Supreme Godhead, I offer my obeisances unto you. O Damodar, O Ananta, O Vishnu, O Master, O my Lord, be pleased upon me. By showering your glance of mercy upon me, deliver this poor ignorant fool, who is immersed in an ocean of worldly sorrows, and become visible to my eyes. O Lord Damodar, just as the 2 sons of Kuvera, Manigriva and Nala Kuvera, were delivered from the curse of Narada, and made into a great devotee by you in your baby form, tied with a rope to a wooden grinding mortar, in the same way, please give to me your own prema bhakti. I only long for this and have no other desire for any kind of liberation. O Lord Damodar, I first of all offer my obeisances to the brilliantly effulgent robe which binds your belly. I then offer my obeisances to your belly, which is the abode of the entire universe. I humbly bow down to your most beloved Srimati Radharani, and I offer all obeisance to you, the Supreme Lord, who displays unlimited pastimes.
राधा दामोदर की जय, माता यशोदा दामोदर की
जय।
सीताराम लक्ष्मण हनुमान की जय, गौर निताय की जय, श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय। Giving us the opportunity to deep down in the spiritual Thank you for playing the Mridanga. Yeah, yes. And to you as well, Prabhuji, because of your teamwork.
Very talented.
Yes, yes.
Very nice. It's great.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Can you stay here for a little more?
We are leaving now.
Okay. It's the next time.
Do you want to leave them?
Yeah, maybe around 6, I think.
Do, Prabhuji.
Please don't turn it on my phone.
The class lady.
Should I close that door? Or no? Should I close that door? Thank you so much. I'm just gonna start singing because everyone went to have like their prasadam. I can wait 5 minutes. I can wait 5 minutes for it. Though I know I know there is no people here. I have seen that there is people online. So yeah, because I noticed when I saw recordings of the classes. It's okay. Just gonna start. Yayo Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Yayo Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Yaya Gopiyana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yaya Gopiyana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Vrayuyana Ranjana Yasodanandana Vrayuyana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Munatira Vanachari Yayorada Madhava Kunja Vihari Yayorada Madhava Kunja Vihari Yaya Gopiyana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yaya Gopiyana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Vrayuyana Ranjana Yasodanandana Vrayuyana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Yayorada Madhava Kunja Vihari Yayorada Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Yayo Radha Gokulananda Radha Gokulananda Radha Gokulananda Sri Radhe Yayo Radha Gokulananda Radha Gokulananda Radha Gokulananda Sri Radhe Yayo Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman 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 Yaya Gauranitai 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 Yaya Gauranitai Yaya Gauranitai 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 Yaya Gauranitai. Today we're gonna read from the chapter 7, Knowledge of the Absolute, text 22. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Utale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Om Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Utale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Sarasvati Deva Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunjavadi Paschataya Satarine. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tanta Kanchara Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Hari Priye. Of my respect always studio los Bishop Lord Ramachandra, the Lord of the Raghu dynasty and the husband of Sita Devi. We're going to start by reading the text 22nd, the Sanskrit. Sataya Sradahaya Yuktas Tasya Radhanam Inhate Lavate Chatatakamamam Maijava Vihitam Hitan. Let's translate word by word. Saha, he. Taya, with that. Sradahaya, inspiration. Yukta, endeavored. Tasya, of that demigod. Arandanam, for the worship in hate. He aspires. Lavate, obtains. Cha, and. Tata, from. That, kaman, his desires. Maya, by me. Eva, alone. Vihitan, arrange, he. Certainly, done, those. Translation by His Divine Grace, Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada. Endowed with such faith, he endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtain his desires, but in actually, these benefits are bestowed by me alone. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. The demigods cannot award benedictions to their devotees without the permission of the Supreme Lord. The living entity may forget that everything is the property of the Supreme Lord, but the demigods don't forget. So the worship of demigods and achievement of desired results are due not to the demigods, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by arrangement. The less intelligent living entities does not know that this, and therefore he foolishly goes to the demigods for some benefit. But a pure devotee, when in need of something, prays only the Supreme Personality of Godhead, asking for material benefits. However, it is not a sign of a pure devotee. A living entity goes to the demigods usually because he is mad to fulfill his lust. This happens when something undue is desired by the living entity and the Lord himself does not fulfill the desire. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that one who worships the Supreme Lord and at the same time desires material enjoyment is contradictory in his desires. Devotional service to the Supreme Lord and the worship of the demigods cannot be on the same platform, because worship of the demigods is material and devotional service to the Supreme Lord is completely spiritual. For the living entity who desires to return to Godhead, material desires are an impediment. A pure devotee of the Lord is therefore not awarded the material benefits desired by less intelligent living entities, who therefore prefer to worship demigods of the material world rather than engage in devotional service to the Supreme Lord. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki. I pray that I can say something that will benefit you in your spiritual path. In the Gita 7.22, in the purpose, Srila Prabhupada explains that the fulfillment of desires is due to the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is not due to the demigods. He says, the living entity may forget that everything is the property of the Lord, but the demigods, they do not forget. The demigods are the devotees of the Lord. Because that, let's talk about two pastimes about Damodara, where we can see how the demigods, Lord Indra and Brahma, are both devotees, servants of Lord Krishna. Let's talk first about the pastimes of Indra when he tried to, when he was really upset because his offering was not done. And he decided he was going to destroy Vrindavan, and he sent his clouds. Even the clouds have even names like Samyukta, Samurtaka, Devadurga, Sanketaka. So he decided he was going to send this like the destruction, universal destruction clouds, so he can destroy completely Vrindavan and even kill the Vrayavasis. So through this pastime, we can see that like Indra could not recognize the Lord in his Gopal form, and then he just thought he was like a village boy, and then they sent all these clouds, and then when he saw that Lord Krishna, he lifted the Govardhan hill to save the Vrayavasis, then he realized that it was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then he took the humble position and went to ask for forgiveness. He even took with him the Surabhi cow. And so he even offers prayers, and in these prayers we can see that he is a devotee of Krishna, that he's surrendering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It says first in the Srimad Bhagavatam that he could not really believe that Krishna could come down and live in Vrindavan with a cowherd man. And it is said that Yoga Maya covers him, so he can the pastime can be fulfilled. And then after that, when he realizes his mistake, he offers these prayers to the Lord. I mean, in part of the prayers, you can see that he's calling him, my dear Lord, you are the original father of this cosmic manifestation. You are the supreme master of this cosmic world, and the proprietor of everything. So he's realizing that like everything really belongs to the Lord. So if we take these prayers of Indra and we think again on text 22, we can see that like he's saying that everything really belongs to the Lord, and only through the Lord the benedictions can be really attained, because the demigods are the servants of the Lord. Another pastime that we can see this with the demigods is the pastime of Brahma when he stole the cowherd boys and the cows. He actually took them for one day of Brahma, but it was like a year in earth. So that it was more hard for Lord Krishna, because Lord Krishna doesn't like to be away from his devotees. And like with the pastime of Govardhan Hill, Indra, by sending the clouds and creating a lot of like destruction, he brought all the devotees together to the Lord, because all of them were under like a Govardhan Hill together with Krishna. But in the pastime with Brahma, the cowherd boys were taken away, the gopas, the dear devotees of the Lord were taken away from the Lord. And that for Krishna, I think it was more hard. He really didn't like that. But at the end, when Brahma realized about his mistake, he also offers like very beautiful prayers. And again, like it said that like Yoga Maya covered Brahma for him not to realize that like Krishna was in his form of Balagopala in the material world, in the earth. So he says, for example, like Brahma says, my dear Lord, in this incarnation you have proved that you are the supreme controller of Maya. You remain in the cosmic manifestation, and yet the whole creation is within you. So through these words, we can realize that like also Brahma is a servant of the Lord. And so both pastimes can show that like the real controller and the real owner of everything in the existence is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and the demigods know this. So what happened? Why do people engage in like asking worship? Why do people engage in worshiping the demigods? It's because they want their desires to be satisfied. It's basically because of sense gratification. Because usually the Lord would not really satisfy that, and as the purpose says, and then they will try to get what they want by worshiping the demigods. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said there is no need to worship like the demigods, because by worshiping Lord Krishna, we are worshiping also that the demigods are satisfied. Krishna will give us whatever we need, and if something is not really good for us, he just would not give, and we will have to accept that is the best for us. And in that way, we can really find a surrender in believing that whatever the Lord is providing is the best for us. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. We are reading like text 22. I just read it briefly for you again, so you know what we're talking about. It's text 22 from chapter 7. Endowed with such a faith, he endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtain his desires, but in actually these benefits are bestowed by me alone. So we just spoke briefly about like Indra and Brahma and the pastimes of Damodara, how both of them surrender and offer praise to Krishna, and through that we can see that both of them are like devotees of the Lord, that they are like servants of the Lord, and even like Indra called him the proprietor, like the owner of everything, and then we can really notice that like it's through the Lord that the benedictions are coming, and not through the demigods. And then now we were just talking about a purport in the Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 4 that it says that like as pouring water on the root of a tree energizes the trunk, branches, twigs, and everything else, by worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the devotional service automatically satisfy the demigods, who are part of the Supreme Lord. So there is no need basically to worship the demigods, just because they will be satisfied as devotees of the Lord. They will be satisfied if we worship the Lord. So Krishna is the root, and by watering the root, all the parts of the tree they also get the water. And in the same way, like as we give food to the stomach, all the rest of the body will be satisfied. In the same way as we worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, we don't really need to worship the demigods. But let's go back to why do people worship the demigods. Basically, as I said, it's because they want the desires to be fulfilled. Srila Prabhupada in the purpose said, a living entity goes to the demigods usually because he is mad to fulfill his lust. This happens when this destiny for us, and we are not going to get that because it's not going to be good for us. Srila Prabhupada explained that this type of mentality of going onto the demigods for fulfillment of desires is contrary to the mood of devotees that want to awake the spiritual consciousness and go back to Godhead, since the material desires are an impediment to return to Godhead. So basically it's like we need to move away from this mood of like asking and just accept. Also, like it said that we should not even be asking to the Lord, because the Lord already knows as Paramatma in the heart what we want and what we need, and He decides what is best for us. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the Canto 1, Srila Prabhupada explains that the devotees should not desire to increase their material enjoyment. They should only accept to the point of the bare necessities or even less than that, since to accept more material enjoyment means to bind more to this material existence. So this is clearly said to Srila Prabhupada, we need to live very like simple and have like elevated thinking, no? And this is like the ways of the devotees. And now let's talk a little bit about like Vamanadeva, because he in the Canto 8 explains very well about how we should not engage in this endless satisfaction of desires. No, let's talk about Lord Vamanadeva. Let's refer to him before we talk about what he says. Lord Vamanadeva is the dwarf incarnation of the Lord. Was born from Aditi and Kasyapa Muni, and he came to help the demigods because Bali Maharaj, the king of the demons, he took the throne of Indra. And he moved to the heavenly planets. So Aditi, she was feeling very upset about her sons, about the demigods, and she performed the Payovrata worship to obtain the Lord as her son. In that way, the Lord came. He was very pleased with Aditi, and the Lord came in his dwarf incarnation, Vamanadeva. His name actually is Upendra, and he went to see Bali Maharaj in the heavenly planets. And when Lord Vamanadeva went to see Bali Maharaj, Bali thought that he was a normal Brahmana, and he offered him charity. And he said, "Oh, a small boy, one who approaches me to beg something should not have to ask anything more anywhere." So this is what Bali said to Vamanadeva. And Vamanadeva replied in a very amazing way, explaining about sense gratification and about the need of not having to acquire so much wealth. So he says, "Oh dear king, even the wealth of the three worlds cannot satisfy a person whose senses are uncontrolled. One should be satisfied with whatever he achieves by his previous destiny. For discontent can never bring happiness. A person who is not self-controlled will not be happy, even with possessing the three worlds. The endless desires are the cause of continuous birth and death, but one who is satisfied by that obtained by destiny is fit from liberation from this material existence. A Brahmana who is satisfied with whatever is providentially obtained is increasingly enlightened with spiritual power. But a dissatisfied Brahmana decreases his potency. And in this way, like Brahmanadeva was making like a point with Bali Maharaj about the importance of of detaching from material desires. And Hare Krishna Mataji, you want I tell you to read you the purpose.
Ananda Shakti is saying he wants to go, he's tired.
Okay, it's fine, don't worry.
If it's quick.
I mean, if you want to stay 10 minutes, so I can read you that text again.
I just want to ask him because I have no lift if he goes there.
Okay, it's okay. I'm just gonna tell you, we were reading about, briefly, I'm just gonna explain. We were reading about, how, people tend to go to the demigods to obtain their material desires. In the text, it's explained that, the Lord is really the one that, fulfills the desires, that the demigods are the servants of the Lord, and then, now we are referring to Vamanadeva, and Vamanadeva, he's telling Bali Maharaj about that, people with uncontrolled senses, they can never be satisfied with whatever is provided. He refers to, for example, that they are not satisfied with whatever is provided by his previous destiny. I believe he's referring that he's not satisfied, that he's referring to the people that are not satisfied with whatever they get by their own karma.
She said she's waiting for me 5 minutes.
Okay, it's okay. As you wish. If you want to go, it's fine. I don't mind. So we were just talking about Vamanadeva and how he explains to Bali Maharaj that people that are with uncontrolled senses, they can never be satisfied even by having the three worlds. And then he also points out the importance for Brahmanas to be satisfied with whatever the Lord provides for them. And he's saying that this type of mood in Brahmanas, it really enlightens and gives them spiritual power. But the Brahmanas that are not satisfied with whatever the Lord provides, they decrease their potency. So he's pointing out to Bali Maharaj all these points.
Okay, Mataji.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. It's okay.
And it's really nice what you're reading.
Thank you.
Stay, but
A wonderful speaker, thank you.
Thank you so much.
take care.
Another time is fine. So, in that way, we can see how the Lord is explaining that this uncontrolled mind and these constant desires they're not going to help the devotee to awake consciousness, and the devotee needs to move away. Also in the Bhagavad Gita we read that we cannot extinguish a fire with more fuel. So basically the more we give to the senses, the more they will ask, and the devotees need to move away from this mood. It's even said that the Lord can even give blessings by removing the wealth of a person. It says because of material opulence, a foolish person becomes mentally slow and mad. To such person, I show my special favor by first taking away all his possessions. So the mood of the Lord is basically to take away whatever we don't need. So in that way, we'll surrender to him. It even says that, like, if a human being is born in an aristocratic family, usually gets proud of his wealth and beauty, and that is a distraction for devotional service. And the Lord, by mercy, He can take away these possessions for the person to surrender to Him. This is very well explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam in the canto fifth canto. Lord Krishna says that He takes everything away from the devotee whom He especially favors when that devotee is overly attached to material possessions. So this goes hand in hand with what we are saying about, like, asking material enjoyment to the demigods. This can even provoke from the Lord to take away whatever we even have. So when everything is taken away, the devotee feels helpless and frustrated in society. Friendship and love. He feels that his family does not care for him any longer, and therefore completely surrenders into the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. This is a very special type of mercy that the Lord can even give by taking away whatever the person doesn't need. So as devotees, we need to concentrate in having a simple life and having an elevated thinking. That means that we need to live with whatever we need, basic needs, and we need to dedicate most of our time for devotional service. Because if we endeavor in working long hours to have more wealth, then we will have less time for our devotional practice, less time to do devotional service, less time for our chanting, and we will forget that the real reason that we are in this world, that we have this body, is to go back to the spiritual planets. The purpose of this lifetime, of having this human body, is to go back to the spiritual planets. It's not to accumulate wealth. So the Lord, in His mercy, He can even take away that wealth, so we will concentrate much more in the real purpose of this existence, that is to go back to the spiritual planets. Now let's talk a little bit about asking material opulences to Lord Krishna, because that can also happen, that the devotee will ask something in exchange for devotional service. Pure devotional service is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam in Canto 2. Pure devotional service means service to the Lord without any tinge of material desire. And what does it mean? That we are practicing service without expecting, pure devotional service is to practice service without asking something in return. So the mood of the devotee is, I'm performing devotional service. I'm coming here to the temple to cook for the Lord, to change the Lord, to clean the temple, to give class, but for the pleasure of the Lord. I'm not doing it to ask something back. So this should be the mood of devotees. Generally, the Lord does not fulfill desires for sense enjoyment. But the Lord should be worshipped to minimize the material desires. And in the morning, just Godruma Prabhu, he was explaining this matter about how to minimize the material desires. And basically, it's just by developing more attachment to Lord Krishna. The more attached we are to Lord Krishna, the material desires will be minimized. Basically, what will happen is that we just lose interest. That's the way it goes. Because after trying something better, after trying to do devotional service, and after coming to the temple and trying the nectar of devotional service, then the sense gratification given by material enjoyment is we just lose interest on that. We just don't want to do it no more. It's just not gratifying anymore. Because as Godruma Prabhu said, like, if you offer a better beverage, you will always choose the better beverage. That is the service of the Lord. So by trying, by developing a higher taste is when we really move away from material enjoyment, from sense gratification. So that's the way to go. Like trying to repress material desires, it will not really work on the long term. It's more like by listening to Krishna Kathar and by performing devotional service and by developing attachment to the Lord is when we will just lose interest in those material desires and we will move away from that situation. But let's talk about now about what happened when the Lord does give, because sometimes He gives, sometimes He even fulfills the desires. And the case of Dhruva Maharaj is a good example of a person that was seeking opulences and became a pure devotee of the Lord. This is a really amazing story about a child, age 5, and that he was seeking sense gratification, and by doing that he became a very dear devotee of the Lord. So let's talk about Dhruva Maharaj. He decided to go to the forest to perform austerities because he wanted to have a kingdom bigger than Brahma. He went to the forest because he was insulted by his stepmother. When he wanted to sit on the lap of his father, he was not allowed, and his mother recommended him to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he decided to go to the forest to seek for Vishnu, so he can ask him to have a bigger kingdom than Brahma. And then he went there all by himself, and he met, by the mercy of the Lord, met Narada Muni. It's because the way it goes is that Paramatma in the heart, when Paramatma in the heart notices that a devotee is seeking for the Lord and he wants to remember the Lord, Paramatma helps the devotee to find the spiritual master. So in that way, this little boy of age 5 met Narada Muni in the forest. At first, Narada Muni, when he saw this boy, age 5, he told him to go back home. And then come back when he was much older, because to perform austerities in the forest, it was just too much for a little boy. Dhruva Maharaj was not convinced about that, and he answered, "I have been insulted by my stepmother, and I have come to find God, to get the kingdom I deserve." Narada Muni told him to forget about that insult and to go back home. And Dhruva Maharaj said, "I understand that your instructions are very valuable and good, but not for me. I am very disturbed and not very spiritually inclined. I am concerned with my material desire, and if you cannot help me get what I want, then don't tell me to go home, but you go home yourself." That's really amazing, like a little boy can answer in a very natural way. She was even sending Narada Muni back to his house. It was but Narada Muni didn't do that. He noticed that he was really determined, and he helped him. But the special thing about this pastime of Dhruva Maharaj, that even by his answer, it can be noticed that he's even saying, "I'm not very spiritually inclined, and I'm here because I want God to fulfill my material desire, that is to have a kingdom bigger than Brahma." Narada Muni realized that he was not going to change his mind, so he helped him. To get absorbed in devotional service. And Dhruva Maharaj did very severe austerities, especially for a little boy. He was eating very little, drinking very little, but he mastered the breathing exercises, and he became very, very purified, and he was able to meditate and see the Lord in his mind. At certain point, he stopped even breathing for certain periods, and that was causing alarm. It was causing a reaction, and Vishnu was asked to help. The demigods went to Vishnu and asked to talk to Dhruva Maharaj. So Vishnu came to this world, and so Dhruva met Dhruva Maharaj. So Dhruva was meditating with closed eyes and meditating in the form of the Lord, and then all of a sudden his meditation was broken. And then when he opened his eyes, he could see Lord Vishnu just in front of him. He could not even offer prayers, being such a little boy, didn't know what to say. But the Lord, in his mercy, realized that Dhruva couldn't find the words, because the Lord, as Paramatma in the heart, could notice that Dhruva couldn't find the words to worship the Lord. So Vishnu, in his mercy, touched him with his conch shell, and in that way, Dhruva was able to offer beautiful prayers to the Lord. And then Dhruva says, "I have been searching for pieces of broken glass, but instead I have found a most valuable jewel. I am therefore fully satisfied, my Lord. I do not wish to ask anything more from your Lordship." So this is the perfect example that what happened when we worship, when we perform devotional service. We just lose interest in material gain. After Dhruva Maharaj came to the forest seeking to obtain a kingdom, seeking material wealth. But when he tried the nectar of devotional service, when he had the opportunity of having a higher taste, that taste of devotional service, then he completely lost interest in material gain, in having that kingdom. And he was even concerned that if the Lord will give him some material gain, that will interfere with his devotional practice. But the Lord told him that was not going to happen. And then the Lord says, "My dear Dhruva, I know your desires and your ambitions, and I shall fulfill them all." So why is that the Lord can fulfill the desires of a little boy, the material desires of a little boy, but doesn't fulfill the desires of others that even go to ask to the demigods? It's because the Lord in the heart knows the person, and he knows, in the case at least of Dhruva Maharaj, that he will use the wealth in his devotional service, and that he is not attached to that wealth no more, because that the Lord gives him the wealth. And then he even says, "I shall award you with a planet known as Polar Star." So apart from the kingdom of his, he also gave him a planet called the Polar Star, which will continue to exist even after dissolution. And that's the way Dhruva Maharaj got all this wealth in the material world. It says that he ruled for 36,000 years on earth, because during that time there was another era, so that it was longer time, and the people would live longer. And after his time, he was taken to the spiritual planets by a plane, and into the Polar Star, where I believe he's still now there. And so in that way we can see that the Lord does fulfill the material desires, but he fulfills them when he sees that that wealth will be used in devotional service, that will be in benefit of the person. This mood of like, oh, if the Lord doesn't give me whatever I want, I need to ask the demigods, should not be the mood of the devotees, because that will really, it's like a big contradiction for us, because our goal as devotees is to go back to Godhead, to use this material existence to go back to Godhead, to use this material body to practice devotional service and to regain our lost relationship with the Lord. It should not be used for sense gratification. It's not meant to be used for that. So, if the Lord, and if we see that the Lord, by His mercy, give us some wealth, then it should be used for devotional service. Then the question comes, can we pray for devotional service? I asked my guru about this, and he said that you can pray for devotional service, but you cannot pray for a specific devotional service. Because if you do that, it's most likely there is a material desire behind it. You should just pray for devotional service and then wait for the mercy of the Lord, and He will place you whatever He thinks is best for you. Because sometimes we have certain inclinations to perform certain service, but if the Lord is not providing you that service, you just have to wait. And it's not good to get too attached to certain service, because most likely, as my guru said, there is a material need if you are too attached to certain service. Any service for the Lord also counts as the same. Before, for example, when I was in Ibrahim Mandala, I was doing deity worship, and that was really lovely. Now I'm working, and also I was working in the Gurukula there. Now I'm working in the Gurukula again, and also in the Krishna club, and trying to see that the children are also in somehow deities, because Paramatma lives inside of them. The Lord lives inside His devotees, so that should also be the mood, and accept whatever the Lord has desire for us. Usually at this time I will be asking for questions, but I'm just doing the class online at the moment, and for the pujaris in the kitchen. So in this, let me review a little bit what I spoke, and just make a summary. So in this class, we have been speaking about that the people that want to satisfy their senses, and they go to the demigods without really understanding that whatever blessing the demigods give is really given by the Lord, by Lord Krishna, and that the demigods cannot give something without the permission, without the authorization of Lord Krishna. And then Srila Prabhupada has been explaining that this mood of asking for desires is not compatible basically with Krishna consciousness, and to be asking for desires to be fulfilled is not compatible for Krishna consciousness, because the desires really makes us stay in this material world. He says more material enjoyment means to buy more to this material existence. So our happiness should not be based in this sense gratification or in acquiring lots of things. It should be more in our relationship with the Lord, in practicing devotional service. Of course, we need to have basic needs satisfied, we need to have a place where to sleep. Actually, my guru was even saying that in a class, that these basic needs, they need to be covered before we can really engage in devotional service. We need to have a house, we need to have a car, we need to go to work, we we need to have like prasadam and saris or clothes to wear. These needs, they have to be satisfied, but not to the extent that they are really like keeping us away from devotional service. And I say that because to acquire more things, you need to work more, and to have more Lashmi. And if you overwork, then that work will take you away from your devotional practice. You need to work just a certain amount of hours, that 6-8 hours. So in that way, you will have time for devotional practice, for chanting, for listening to class, for studying, and also, like, we can review a little bit what like Lord Vamanadeva says. He's saying, like, in a couple of times, that we need to be content, we need to be happy with whatever we are receiving according to our previous destiny. Basically, like, it's our karma from previous lives is like what really establish what we're going to receive in this lifetime. But it is said here that it's very difficult for a person that has lots of wealth and beauty to concentrate in devotional practice. It's even said that if a human being is born in an aristocratic family and is not proud of his wealth and beauty, it is to be understood that is especially favored by a Supreme Personality of Godhead. So usually what happens is that, like, they get proud and they get distracted. Aristocratic birth, opulence are impediments to advancing devotional service because they are cause of false prestige and pride. No? And also to have a lot can take a person to do other things that are different from devotional practice. No? Then I also mentioned that the Lord in His endless mercy can even take some wealth from a person, so that person will concentrate much more in his devotional service and will surrender to Him. Then it's also said that we also talk about in the morning about Godruma Prabhu. He's referring to that the way to lose interest in material enjoyment is by getting more closer to the Lord, by developing attachment to Lord Krishna. And how to develop attachment to Lord Krishna is by listening to His pastimes, by associating with devotees, by practicing devotional service. In that way, we will develop a higher taste, and we just naturally will lose interest in sense gratification. Okay, so it's time right now. There is no questions, but thank you so much. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Continue giving because I know you are listening, and also I saw it online listening.
So many times. You know when I will give introduction? How about I will give introduction? You know who was speaking to? Different voice. Prabhupada spoke not Bhagavad Gita. It's on the tape, and he had a tape recorder and Krishna saw. And there's a 3-hour talk, and Prabhupada was just talking constantly, and it was just a big talk. That's the introduction. So it's not that no one is there, or the demigods and everyone was listening. We don't understand that.
don't have to turn it off. Do you know how